So, hey, it's recording now. We can,
Dude,
we can get started.
I wish people could see from the last time I was here when you were on my podcast. There is 1, 2, 3 studio lights, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you even call those things?
Tripods?
Tripods.
I don't know if this one's like a single pod, I guess.
Monopod. Yeah.
Monopod. Studio KC. That's what I'm calling it.
I'm waiting. I was just joking with the countdown. I'm waiting for the power to surge because there's something plugged into every single outlet in this studio right now.
Oh, man. Well, I'm excited you're here because last time, actually, we were still in the same seats.
Same seats.
So
different lighting.
Different lighting, for sure. I still don't know if this lighting is correct, but
the angle's better too. I think I had the cameras on the chairs, so it was like belly up for both of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're here because I want to know your story. And like every good story, we need to start from the beginning. So, Chance, what is your story? How did you become who you are today?
Dude, I feel like I've lived a bunch of different lives. I'm 31 now, 31 and a half. My whoop age is 29, though.
Okay. Let's go.
I was telling you before this, I'm down 8 pounds.
Let's go. Okay.
So, I'm going to stick with 29 for now.
Let's do it.
Well, before I go to the beginning, let me tell you who I am now.
Okay.
If you don't mind. So that way I can kind of fill the gap. So, 31-year-old, a dad of 2 boys, Maverick and Walker. My beautiful wife, Taylor, is a great example of God's humor. Mm-hmm. And also that I'm the best salesperson you'll ever meet.
Let's go. Yes.
Because there's no way that I somehow didn't have some sort of divine intervention for her to marry me. And I'm a business broker and an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'm born and raised here in Central Florida. So when people ask me, are you from here? I don't know if it's 4 or 5 generations back, but there's a photo of my great-grandfather sitting, like literally squatting on the back of 2 alligators.
Oh my gosh.
Like that's how Florida.
You're like Floridian through and through in your blood, dude.
Yes.
Like
it's a pretty rednecky looking photo. So when people ask me if I'm from Florida, I literally have it as a favorite in my phone and I just pull it up. I'm like, this is my great grandfather.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He never went to the doctor. He died. I think he was in his 80s or maybe even his 90s, but never went to the doctor.
Wow.
People asked how he died. And we're like, he never went to the doctor.
So go to the doctor.
Yeah, go to the doctor. Yeah. Lesson number 1.
For sure.
But I think I grew up, it's one of those funny things where you think you grew up a certain childhood.
Yeah.
And then you become an adult and your parents kind of like pull back the curtain a little bit and you're like, oh. Right? Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the meme where it's like, you're playing video games and your parents are like trying to figure out how we're going to pay the mortgage.
Right.
That was kind of my childhood, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I very typical childhood. I don't know where you want me to start. So I'll say, I'll probably pick out like some of the moments I think they're the most, I don't know, milestone-y, pivotal type of moments in my life. First of all, my parents. My dad, construction worker, mechanic for Hubbard Construction. He's been there for 40 years almost.
Wow. So he's still doing that.
Still doing that. He's in the shop in like a leadership position now, but he started as a small pump mechanic.
Okay.
And had every job up through his career there. Basically, he drove around. I just remember my childhood is like my dad drove around this big company truck with a full workshop basically built on the back.
Wow.
And when something would break, he would go out in the field, and if he couldn't fix it in the field, then it had to go back to like the manufacturer or come to the shop. And but like my dad was the guy who just fixed everything.
Yeah.
My brother would I remember like times in high school, my brother would started driving.
Yeah.
And he'd mod these S10s with airbags and he'd have, lifted trucks. And my brother would spend hours out there like working on these trucks and like couldn't get something fixed. And my dad would walk out and be like, ooh, we didn't fire right up, So that was my dad.
Yeah.
My mom was an ER nurse.
Okay.
And before she was an ER nurse, she worked in peds oncology. And I think she was in ICU for a time as well. And so with that kind of like genetic makeup,
right,
I was a very imaginative kind of kid, apparently always a storyteller, always a smartass. Sorry.
How dare you?
Sorry. I was raised by an ER nurse. So, yeah.
Right. You heard it all.
Yeah, I've heard it all.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of in my blood to be kind of not a tinkerer, but like very inquisitive.
Right.
Why is this happening? Why? And then I'd have to tell a story about
Okay.
why.
Yeah.
So first kind of pivotal moment in my life was probably my parents' divorce, which I think around 8.
Okay.
They divorced. And besides maybe 1 or 2 arguments that I actually remember, I never saw any of the problems.
Yeah.
Right. So my parents were very good about keeping that behind closed doors.
Okay.
I know I remember one big fight, but it wasn't like, I've had bigger fights with my wife and,
For sure.
about stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And, my dad moved out. He moved, down the street to an apartment complex. And so typical visitation stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the first kind of a real milestone or pivotal point in my life where things kind of like, well, this is a little bit different.
Right.
I'm living a different childhood, but I didn't realize it was that different because a lot of my friends had divorced parents.
Okay. So I'm wondering, like, because I've talked to people who've gone through divorce before, especially as kids, like, what aspects of that divorce, like, do you remember them talking to you? Do you remember, like, the legal stuff? Like, how was it explained to you?
Hey, your dad's got an apartment and
That's
that's where
it?
he lives. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't recall any of I don't remember any conversation around that. My dad still was at, you know, birthdays and that kind of thing. And
Okay.
my mom would still, my dad's parents, grandparents, my grandparents, my dad's parents, not the Gator ones.
Yeah.
Moved to North Georgia when I was a kid.
Okay.
And so my mom would still meet them halfway, Valdosta area. And like, I'd go spend a couple of weeks in the summer up there with them.
Okay.
And my dad would come pick me up.
Yeah.
And so we were going through all the same kind of functions and things. It's just my dad wasn't in the house all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So do you feel like, right now, as we're talking about it, like with you and your brother, do you have any other siblings?
I have a younger half brother
Okay.
who's 15 years younger than me.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Do you feel like, that divorce, you would have processed it better had there been some sort of intervention or any sort of like, or would things be better?
Weirdly enough, I think I processed it fine because we didn't talk about it. But that's one of those things where that sometimes you unpack those things and you're like, hey, I don't have any memories about this. I went through, we'll get to this point, but I went through probably about 9 months worth of therapy later on in my adulthood.
Right.
And, the therapist at the time was like, hey, you don't seem to have a lot of memories about this thing. And I'm like, oh yeah. And she goes, do you think those are kind of like repressed or kind of like, and so I'm sure if I unpacked this, I probably would come up with some more things, right? Some more memories around it. But
Right.
it kind of sounds bad, but I wasn't really upset about it, and it's probably because my mom and I have always had a closer relationship than my dad and
Right.
I have.
Yeah.
In adulthood, I have a much closer relationship with my dad now than I did as a child.
Yeah.
I think some of that's probably my dad's own communication style,
Okay.
right? He's the funny guy,
Sure.
right? We were talking about this the other day because my grandmother took a fall, and I was asking my dad some about her medical, history, and he was like, I don't know, she doesn't talk to me about that stuff. She, she calls me when she wants to laugh.
Okay.
It's like that's the dynamic my dad has.
Okay.
And so, in hindsight, it's like, all right, my dad's always been that, not avoid the serious talk stuff because we'll talk serious, but he's the one that leans towards the funny stuff.
Okay.
Where my mom is just, what's on her mind is what she'll share with you.
Yeah.
Unless it's going to hurt you, in which case she'll totally hold that in so that it doesn't affect other people.
Okay. So do you feel like that, like not talking to you guys about the divorce, or maybe they did, but you just don't remember? Like, do you feel like that kind of avoidance was present back then and it's still on?
Avoidance meaning like how I avoid or how they avoid it.
Like how they avoid it?
No, I think my mom grew up in a very rough upbringing, and I'm not going to unpack her stuff here, but she went through a very traumatic childhood.
Yeah.
An incredibly traumatic childhood. And she is the strongest person I know next to my wife.
Yeah.
Like if I had to put them on the equal scale of who's the strongest person, like, they say you marry someone that, like your,
you marry someone like your mom. Yeah.
like your mom. That could not be further from the truth.
Okay.
In almost every aspect of my marriage, my relationship, my wife and my mom are totally different people.
Yeah.
My wife, Taylor, is super reserved. She holds her emotions in. My mom, if you hurt someone or she has a feeling, she will destroy you. right? But that's the ER nurse in her,
Right. Yeah, for
right?
sure.
But she also knows, she has a good, I think, feel of, hey, this is going to hurt someone if I share this with them.
Right.
So let me not share that with them. And so, growing up, I thought we lived a very typical middle-class America childhood.
Yeah.
We did not. When my parents split and before all that stuff got worked out and, with child support and everything else, like my mom was making this work and it was tough. But I never went without what I wanted or needed.
Yeah.
Did we take vacations? Sure. Were they farther between than some other families? Sure. I didn't notice.
Right.
Right. And that was one of the things that I realized until I was an adult and I asked about them. She's like, what are you talking about? We were poor. It's like, we were poor? I didn't know we were poor.
Right.
Like, yeah, no, we were really poor.
Yeah.
For
sure. So like, someone listening to this either, might be going through a divorce or considering it, but you as a kid, like experiencing that, like, is there something, if someone's going through divorce and they have kids, like, is there something you feel like either should happen or is there a way that like it should go about?
I have friends who, and obviously this isn't the same for everyone, but I have friends whose parents got divorced in college or late in high school.
Yeah.
And I feel like they have a much different dynamic with their family.
Mhm.
And it almost seems like they feel like their parents were hiding something from them. Some of the best things that came out of my parents' divorce was my mom meeting my stepdad, one of the most inspirational figures in my entire life.
Yeah.
And if my dad had not met my stepmom and remarried and had my younger brother, I would never have had that kind of relationship that I have with him. He's 15 years younger than me. So, he just got accepted to do dual enrollment. And that's what I did when I was in school.
Yeah.
And so like getting to text him, hey man, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for this. Like that one text from earlier this week, Jason, shout out, man. Like I'm so proud of him for doing that. And if my parents had stuck it out till college or let's wait until the kids are 18 and out of the house, like that would have sucked,
Right.
And I've got people in my life that are not in the greatest of relationships, but they have kids in their lives. And they're like, well, I've been with this person for, 20 years or, I've committed so much of my life. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the best person for you.
Right.
They've shown you time and time again that they're not going to change.
Right. For sure.
And so I'm not encouraging people, right? I think there's so many steps you can take before you make that call because I do think kids in a stable household is the most important thing.
Yeah.
But I think I'm one of those weird people that I don't believe in soulmates.
Right.
My wife and I tell people this all the time and they're like, oh, this is uncomfortable. You guys are sitting right next to each other. And we're like, no, we probably could be happier with someone else, but we choose to be happy with each other and work on it.
Yeah.
But in some relationships, both people have to make that choice and have to make the choice to want to change or adapt or whatever it is.
Right. So marriage is almost as like the fantasy of everything just kind of naturally happening, just kind of happens in the movies.
No.
Doesn't happen in real life.
No.
Yeah.
I remember, so my wife and I did not live together until we got married.
Yeah.
So we bought a house 5 or 6 months before we got married and I moved in. And I have a very particular way about how I live.
For sure.
I have a very particular way about how I loaded the dishwasher. Like, there's a lot of little things. I remember the first night we spent in our house, my wife crawled into bed at the end of the day. And I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm going to bed. I'm like, you didn't shower. And she goes, I shower in the morning.
Right.
We've been dating for 4 years.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously on our wedding night, we came home and we were like super like sweaty from dancing and like we both showered and we went to bed. And so like our first night in our house, she had showered that morning at the hotel and then we got home and then we had the whole day of unpacking the house, getting things ready. We had family staying with us. They were watching the dogs. And then she like crawled into bed and I was like, what do you like? No, you have to go shower.
Right.
And then like, it was like those little things that you learn about living with someone, right? In which case now my wife showers before going to bed. Although I'll tell this story and she's going to hate this. We're probably 6 months into marriage.
Yeah.
And the shower's running. She's showering before bed. I'm super happy. But like, like when someone's in the shower, you can hear like the different tone of the water hitting the shower
Right.
pan?
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't doing that. So I open the door and my wife is standing, leaning against the shower door, scrolling on her phone. I was like, I feel so betrayed right now.
That's funny. That's wild. So I think the lights will turn off if we stop moving.
Okay, I'm moving too much.
That no, it's just like felt left out. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
So anyway, you and your wife been married for 4 years, you said.
We were dating for 4 years. We've been married for 8 years this September.
Okay.
So
that's awesome.
But to the question you asked, like, it takes a lot of effort to become one unit, right? Especially if you don't live with each other beforehand, which I actually think is quite the blessing, because you get to learn something new about your spouse.
Right.
And I learn something new about Taylor every single day. She's a very interesting childhood and upbringing as well. That's a story for another day. But Taylor does really, her best way of like communicating like deep thoughts is by writing. Right? She prefers to write than to share. So like, they're in at the beach this week. I'll be heading out there tomorrow. Actually, I had some work stuff I had to take care of first.
Yeah.
And so like she texted me and she goes, "Hey, there's a letter in your drawer." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so it's a page, and she's unpacked a bunch of stuff that she's probably been thinking about for a year, and that's just the way that she processes stuff.
Okay.
And me, I'm a very, hey, it's on my mind, I gotta tell you now, I'm gonna forget about it.
Yeah.
Type person.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it takes effort. It takes a lot of effort.
For sure.
So
for sure. So what was it like, after your parents get divorced, you're in this new normal or new way of living, this new season, like moving on from that, what was like kind of the rest of like your childhood looking like?
Yeah. So the next kind of pivotal moment I would say was I was going to public school at the time. So I would have been third or fourth grade. And then when I went to sixth grade, my mom was making better money. Things had, my dad was paying child support, like everything was working out fine. And so one of my best friends, Andrew Shea, his mom became a teacher at a private school that used to be here in Orlando Lutheran Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go to private school for the first time. Now I had gotten, I'm going to say, quote unquote, saved when I was probably 8, probably that same summer after my parents split. I was up in North Georgia.
Yeah.
My grandparents went to Mount Zebulon Baptist Church.
Okay.
So you're very typical red brick, steeple, fellowship hall in the back.
Okay.
Right? Pews on both sides, probably eight pews total. Pastor wore a suit. And I remember when they got a drum set, my grandfather thought that the church was falling apart.
Oh my gosh.
That's the kind of Baptist church,
Wow.
But I vividly remember getting saved because pastor, I wish I remembered his name. Hopefully I'll get to meet him in heaven and be like, hey, your theology was a little wrong. But he gave this sermon on how we were going to be swimming laps, eternal laps in a lake of fire.
Wow.
If we didn't say the salvation, the prayer.
Wow.
As an 8-year-old. And I think I grew up fast with my parents' divorce,
right,
and the way my mom let me kind of grow up after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I refused to go to children's ministry. Okay. I thought it was cheesy. Wow. I hated every second of it.
For sure.
It was stupid. And so I would go and join my grandmother's Bible a Bible school before service.
Wow.
Me and a bunch of 70-year-old women. And you know why? Because they had candy.
That's right.
And I knew that my sweet demeanor, yes, Miss Lucy, meant that I was going to get one of them little strawberry wrapped, I don't even know what they're called, but they're always in grandma's purse, right? Candies. And so I'm sitting in the main service instead of the kids ministry because I thought it was stupid.
Right.
And he gave this thing. And I remember saying the prayer 3 times because I wanted to make sure God heard me.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know what that tells you about my psyche and demeanor, but we'll unpack that after. And so, but that was it. Yeah. I come back home. We're not a church going family. My mom's working nights in the emergency room to make sure she can take me and my brother to what we got to do and take care of the bills. My grandmother moved in at this point. My mom's mom.
Okay.
Greatest human being that ever lived. She was a trucker, a long haul trucker.
Wow.
Before her arthritis got so bad that she couldn't drive anymore.
Right.
I'm going to tell this story. Nana, I love and miss you. I remember driving to Inverness where she had a house. Yeah. And before she moved in, and someone cut us off on the interstate. And she took her hands out and she was like, up yours, but she had arthritis. So it was like all 4 fingers were still stuck up instead of the bird. That was my grandma, man. I loved her. So feisty, right? Just a feisty person. So
sure.
we weren't a church going family. So we, 6th grade, I started this private school. We had to go to chapel 3 days a week, and we have a theology class every single day.
Wow.
But I thought girls were pretty.
Sure.
So
For sure.
that was my middle school experience of like one bad theology. We would start a theology class every fall, and the idea is we were supposed to get through the Bible in a year. Not read the whole thing, but the major chapters.
Right. Yeah.
And I think most, if not every year, our theology teacher would give up around Exodus and Leviticus.
That early.
So I honestly don't recall hearing like the true gospel story
Wow.
until college.
Oh my gosh.
And Jesus came and died for us and all that kind of stuff, but
for
we
sure.
never really unpacked it.
Right.
And, I remember getting into it with one of the theology teachers, and he also was our science teacher. 8th grade. So waited till 8th grade to do the sex education talk with us. Separated the boys from the girls.
Yep.
And I remember him telling us that any exchange of bodily fluids was sex.
Wow.
So he's telling us that if you kiss a girl, you've committed sex.
Oh my gosh.
And you're going to go to hell.
Jeez.
And
so like the fear, they were driving the fear of like
just bad theology. Meanwhile,
Right.
I'm pretty sure he was sleeping with the upper class science teacher, premarital. So we'll see where he's at.
Night.
We're friends on Facebook, so this will be awkward. And so the smart that I am, right, and with growing up with a feisty grandma who was living in the house and helping my mom raise us.
Yeah.
I asked if a kiss on the cheek was fine. And he was like, no, it's not. I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
So here's where this is where I got my first attention.
Right.
Was I said, okay, so if I have lunch, he's like, okay. And I'm like, I get something on my lip and I lick my lip like that. And then I kiss my grandma on the cheek. Did I just have sex with my grandma? And he turned beet red. The whole class laughed. And he told me to go out in the hallway, and I got detention for that. Because, hey, guess what? Your theology and your rationale there was bad.
Right.
And so I started questioning everything, right?
Sure.
Like, this guy's supposed to be educated. He's supposed to be shaping our discipling us in this Christian school. Meanwhile, the school was being run by a principal. We were backed by a Lutheran congregation. Was siphoning off money to go on cruises and everything else. So the school ends up going under from him embezzling, and I'm going to say allegedly, so he doesn't sue me, but allegedly,
yeah,
that's why the school went under. So here we are finishing 8th grade, and it's like, hey, church, help us, right? This guy was embezzling, and the church just goes, no, and just let the school close. 20 plus jobs gone, all the students had to disperse. And some people have been there for, their entire careers. And so suddenly I'm thrust into public school. Freshman year, Timber Creek High School, there's 1,200 kids in that school.
Oh my gosh.
From a school of 200.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the second major, where this is a different world.
Right. What was that transition like? I mean, this is another.
To not have to wear uniforms.
Okay.
There was, I don't know, 500 girls in my class, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Just went through that formative experience of kind of not deconstructing, but at the same time, these guys are a bunch of phonies.
Right.
They preach one way in these theology classes and in these weekly chapels, and that's not how they're acting and behaving. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the first time that I kind of came up with this internal dialogue of Christians can be the worst case for Christ. And that's what I lived for the next however long of my life.
Wow. So even though you got saved really young, you went through and experienced this bad theology from these bad teachers. And then it was just Christians are the
Terrible
worst.
people. Yeah,
They're
preachers
terrible.
are liars.
Wow.
Right? And that was the mindset that I had for, honestly, up until probably 29. I'm 31.
Wow.
And there was bits here and there where I kind of came back close, right? And I'm sure if I unpacked it, there was probably moments where God was trying to pull me in closer,
For
right?
sure.
Things I was going through. And there's probably a lot of areas that had I listened or was on the lookout for God, then I probably would have came back sooner.
Right.
One of those would have been probably the death of my stepdad. And we can break that down. But but here I am, and I'm I get through Timber Creek, I graduate, and I did dual enrollment like I said, and so now I'm 18, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do with my life.
Right. Yeah.
So
So, when that happened and you were faced with like, you're 18, you're on your own, you're going to college, like, was there, I mean, I guess who was guiding you or who was like giving you advice, if anybody? Like, was
Facebook.
Facebook,
No.
social media?
Well, I mean, so the thing is like when I turned 16, I got a car and I was driving myself to and from school. My
Yeah.
mom was still working in the emergency room at the time. My grandmother was there, but she wasn't raising me, right?
Right.
I was a pretty independent and mature 16-year-old.
Yeah.
But I was just doing whatever I needed to do. I had good grades, right? I got a better education in public school than I did in private school.
Wow.
I got to public school and I think I graduated like a 4.0 or something like that. Maybe less because I really didn't want to do some of the classes, but like
Right.
I think I failed art class. But that's a different story. And so because I was doing all the right things and, I was a very mature 16-year-old, my mom just kind of let me do my own thing.
Wow.
Right. And I loved that.
So you weren't like getting in trouble or staying out
No.
late or?
I saw how much trouble my brother got in for stuff.
Okay.
He's 9 years older than me.
Okay.
So I saw the kind of trouble he got into. So for me, it was like, all right, well, I just won't do those things, or I won't make it apparent that I'm doing those things.
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
So I wasn't out like, drink. I was never a big drinker. I wasn't like, doing drugs and drinking and going to parties. One, because I wasn't a cool kid, but two, like that didn't interest me.
Right. Yeah.
But like, fibbing about, who I'm hanging out with, or I'm going to go do this, or, hey, we're going to movies, but I'm also going to do this. Like those weren't like, I wasn't doing bad stuff.
Right.
I just was flexible.
Do you feel like your mom like knew you were doing that stuff or had no idea? Probably.
She probably had every inclination that, I'm going to a movie with my buddy, but it's probably a girl. Like probably.
Yeah. So do you think it was more like your mom didn't care, or do you think she really trusted you?
I think she trusted me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my mom is the most caring person ever.
Sure.
She grew up a very rough childhood, right? A lot of, anger, I think, there towards my maternal grandfather. And he was a deadbeat of a human being. So I get every bit of that. But the most caring person ever, right?
For sure.
You don't become a peds oncology nurse and not care.
Right.
You don't go to the ER and every single day that you work and deal with, the abscesses and, I have a toothache, just because. You do it because there's also the person that's crashing,
right,
and coding, and they need to be helped, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I saw the kind of person my mom was as a caregiver, and that was kind of my next step. So I kind of somewhere in my junior year of high school, probably about halfway through my junior year of high school, I went to meet with the guidance counselor to kind of work out my next year's classes were going to be.
Yeah.
That guy allegedly was also sleeping with students, so he got fired the following year. So he wasn't a great individual. Public school's all cracked up to be, but still way better than the private school I went to.
For sure, yeah.
But he kind of looked at me. He goes, "Hey, you have enough credits to actually graduate this year if you want."
Wow.
So I just skipped my senior year entirely.
Okay.
I opted out for adulthood essentially.
Wow.
Which was fantastic, man.
Okay, for sure.
But in that same couple months there of like, all right, I'm going to graduate. I'm a senior now. I was like, I'm going to become a doctor.
Okay. Wow.
I don't want to be a nurse.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with nursing. It's just that I had a kind of a weak stomach, and I'm like, I saw someone, my mom talking about a story about this guy having a crap in a bedpan, and I'm like,
Oof.
I would rather be the doctor that's like, okay, I'll be back, and that was literally my decision point for I'm gonna become a doctor instead.
Wow. Okay.
And I would say the next few years were probably my favorite years ever of working.
Okay.
Because I actually went and became a medical scribe in the emergency room and just followed the doctors around and charted all the cases.
Wow.
And got to work with my mom, who was still in the ER.
Yeah.
And in the summers, I went and became a dive instructor down in the Virgin Islands. So I was just like,
that's pretty cool.
Two very different ends of the spectrum. I was a beach bum, didn't wear shoes for 3 months.
Wow.
grew my hair. I had a man bun.
Let's go. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's kind of the next big pivotal point of like, now I'm out of high school. I'm going to college. I had another year where I wrapped up my associates at Valencia while I was working as a medical scribe.
Right.
And those next couple of years really shook me for who I am.
So you're 18. You want to be a doctor, obviously.
I'm 17.
You were 17.
I graduated early, yeah.
Yes. So, like you mentioned, like how did you know? Like, I mean, the extensive training to be a doctor. Like, is that stuff you knew? It was like 10 years of medical school, bachelor's, master's. I just don't want to clean bedpans. So I'm gonna do all this.
Two things. One, I thought it sounded cool. My ego and pride were there saying that, well, if I'm Dr. Sweat, which so glad it never worked out.
Sounds like a Nike commercial.
It
Dr.
sounds
Sweat.
like something that you buy at Walgreens for athlete's foot.
Man, we missed that one.
I really missed the opportunity there.
Missed that one.
So there was a lot of pride and ego there.
Yeah.
The prestige of being a doctor.
Absolutely.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, I'm like, well, my dad's a mechanic and my mom's a nurse. So I'm kind of built to fix people. That was my mindset.
Yeah.
And that's all it took. I watched that in an episode of House. Remember that show, House?
Oh, yes.
And I was like, oh, I could do this.
That shows.
That's literally how easy my decision was.
Wow. Okay.
But at the same time, I didn't know what else I wanted to do.
Right. For sure.
Figured this was good enough.
Yeah. So you go through that process, being a scribe, working in the ER.
Second most traumatic experience in my life. So one of my first night, because I was at this point, I guess I had just finished Valencia, so I was getting ready to go to transfer to Rollins, and I got a poor person scholarship to go to Rollins, so that was great to finish my last 2 years.
There you go.
One of my first shifts, was my first shift where I was working on my own without a trainer, working at the Altamont Emergency Department.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Zone C, which is our critical, right there by the trauma doors.
Right.
And I'm working with a night shift doctor, and one of the most amazing human beings I know, Dr. Sirotkin. We're still friends on Facebook. She probably doesn't know this, but she's one of the most influential people I've ever met.
For sure.
Because she was so kind and polite to every single patient. And I'll give you an example of that in a second. Our first patient of the night, she sits down, introduces herself, shows me how she likes her documentation to be done. And EMS Bay calls, they're coming in, they're coding someone, which means they're doing chest compressions on someone.
Yeah.
Youngish lady, I can't remember how old she was. It's be kind of graphic. So for anyone who's experienced trauma or self-harm, I skip forward. Had hung herself. Her boyfriend would not leave his wife. That was the story we got from EMS. And I think she was in her late 20s, maybe early 30s. Very traumatic, beautiful human being. And that was our first case of the night. And we went through an hour. We got her stabilized. She was by all, measures alive. And got to the point where, all right, we're going to do the neuro came down, she was brain dead. There was nothing we could do. We thought about flying her to Advent South, where they have this thing called a cold cool, and they would literally freeze almost to the point of freezing, bring someone hypothermic. Well, not like down in the 80s,
right?
From a 98 body temp, and then slowly would rewarm them. And there were studies at the time. This is 2017 that could potentially bring back brain function, or at least preserve it. And so neuro came to come and give this evaluation. They're like, hey, the lights are on, but as soon as you turn the machines off, like brainstem activity is not there. Like there's no function. And so the whole night, she's in the good trauma bay, and every 45 minutes she's coding, and we're going in there and like pushing drugs and, bring her back, shock her, bring her back.
Yeah.
And the family finally showed up and they opted for organ donation. So I don't know what happened at that point. I like to believe that, she saved countless lives that night. And I remember checking out that morning, and Dr. Sorokin said, you did a great job. And she, walked out the trauma bay to her car, and I went out and got in my car, and I sobbed in my car for 30 plus minutes. And I'll skip forward a couple of years. I'm in the Winter Park Emergency Department. It is Mother's Day. I'm working the 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift. My mom's working as well, and we have dinner plans at Outback for Mother's Day, right? And we're almost wrapped up with the day, and we hear we need a doctor. And I turn around at the nurse's station, and like an episode of Grey's Anatomy, a stretcher goes by being pushed by my friend Javier, who was a paramedic, and my mom is on top of an 18-year-old kid, and she's straddling him and she's doing chest compressions. And so the doctor runs in there, Dr. Mitch Mulfair. He's now the medical director at Winter Park, I think. I don't think he's retired yet.
Mm-hmm.
Also one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met. One of the smartest, probably the smartest person I've ever met in my entire life.
Wow.
Amazing person.
Yeah.
We coded this young boy for for well over an hour. Young guy, he collapsed on I don't know if it was a basketball court or something like that. And his friends threw him in the car and drove him over to the ER. And he had a cardiac arrest.
Mm.
And this is Mother's Day. We coded him for over an hour. And there was no reviving him. The only reason that the monitors were responding was because we were doing chest compressions. And I remember Dr. Mulfair going around the room, and he asked every single individual, there's probably 15 of us in there, is there anything else you want to try? And everyone just kind of put their head down. And one nurse said, I'm a mom, I need a few more minutes. And it wasn't even her kid. And we coded that kid for another 15 minutes. And then he went out to the waiting room, found the parents, brought them in, let them say goodbye, and then we ceased compressions there. And I remember the dad just started swinging, tried to hit the doctor, the paramedics had to hold him back, and he just broke down.
Yeah.
And that was the end of the shift, wrapped up paperwork, and I walked out to my car. I didn't cry. I remember driving through Starbucks, getting a drink, went home, showered, met my girlfriend and my mom for Mother's Day, and it wasn't even a thought on my mind. And that's when things started to break for me, that I can't do this. And I think I would have been a great doctor. I think I have the right mindset for it. I have the love for people for it. But I was so dead inside that deadness comes up later in my story, of where I didn't have the right emotional response to things.
Right.
And I think there's a reason for that. I think God engineers us to be caring, loving creatures, but also gives us the ability to compartmentalize things, because
For sure.
we need emergency room doctors.
Right.
We need peds oncology doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't compartmentalize and push those things down or work through them in a healthy manner, you can't do the job.
Right.
And so I think it was years later when I lost my stepdad to what I believe allegedly was a medical error, that I kind of had this realization. I was like, I can't do this, because if I make the mistake and accidentally kill someone, which most doctors will do in their career,
Sure.
I don't want to be whatever about it.
Right.
I don't want to be that person.
Right.
And it wasn't that I think I could have brought a lot of great care and love to the field, but I just couldn't. I just, there was something inside of me at now looking back, I know that was God saying, hey, this isn't for you. Like,
Right.
you picked your own calling. This isn't what I'm calling you to do.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that is something, especially like there are ER doctors and nurses right now that could hear that and be like, yeah, like I have to compartmentalize that stuff all the time. And I mean, you mentioned like healthy ways of dealing with it, and you felt like what you were doing, just not feeling anything, or even just suppressing it, was not healthy for you.
Not healthy.
Yeah.
At all. I don't know. Maybe if I was into working out at the time, maybe that would have been an outlet for me, right? Maybe if I was a runner, if I was man enough to go and see, and man enough sounds like such a aggressive way to say it, but I should say if I had manned up and just faced my emotions with a therapist or a counselor, I think that probably would have been really, really good for me.
Right.
And I got an example of that later in my story, of where I toughened up and let the guard down, and it was everything.
Yeah.
So
for sure. So, you get out of that, and then like you mentioned, like even beginning, well, I mean, when does therapy for you become part of your story? Like,
So I'll fast forward because I don't think there was really many pivotal moments between that moment. My stepdad did pass away in I guess 2016. So I'm trying to think now my timeline if that was before or after that. It must have been before that. But my dad, my stepdad, Alan Arthur, he was a firefighter for 20 plus years,
Wow.
Navy before that. He was the guy that when he walked into a room, like the whole room lit up,
Yeah.
just his personality. And I think things started to shift in my mindset at his funeral. So he died from a very rare form of lymphoma. He actually beat the lymphoma.
Wow.
It came back,
Yeah.
beat it a second time, and then he ended up having graft versus host disease, where the immune system attacks the body, the donor. So we lost him, and when we lost him, the fire department, when they brought him home from hospice, they actually, I'm sure there's a statute of limitations on this, but he was at the hospital, and we decided we were going to elect for hospice, right, and take him home, let him pass it home.
Yeah.
And usually there's an ambulance, right, or a transport that takes you home. The fire department in Seminole County, against the chief's orders at the time, took themselves out of service, drove the ambulance that the fire rescue that he first started on down to the hospital and loaded him up and took him home.
Wow.
And when we got home, there was a fire truck outside, and they stood in honor guard for the whole week that he was home. Literally a fire truck in our cul-de-sac every single day.
Yeah.
Against the chief's wishes to do so. And when he passed, 2 more fire trucks showed up, and they did an honor guard salute when they moved his body out of the house. And I started to realize that you didn't need to be a doctor or an attorney or have this big thing. Like he was never more than a firefighter paramedic. We had to host his funeral at Northland Church because no place else could accommodate the number of people that came to his funeral.
Oh my goodness.
There was a dozen fire trucks. Someone draped one of those giant 50-foot American flags you see at cancer walks, out front. Fire trucks, retro fire trucks from Cocoa Beach drove out just to do an honor guard out front.
Wow.
And it was one of those things where I'm like, I can do something better with my life and touch more people than just whatever I was going to do. And so that kind of stirred things in me.
Yeah.
And the most emotional part of his passing was they do this thing where they played taps for him because he was a veteran. But on the EMS radio channel, they actually call firefighter EMT Alan Arthur. They call his name, and they're asking for him to respond. And this goes out to the entire, EMS community, like people in their trucks.
Wow.
They call him 3 times, and then they say that his watch has ended, and they announce his passing, and everyone takes a moment of silence. And they played that over the speakers of the church. And so I began to construct this, what is my watch, right? What am I supposed to be on watch for?
Yeah.
And it took me a lot of time to figure that out. And I think I'm still figuring that out. I should have gone to counseling then. I would be leaps and bounds in my emotional story if I had done that then. But to answer your question, the next moment where counseling or therapy came in to my story was probably 9 months after my wife beat breast cancer.
Okay.
So my wife, Taylor, I told you, man, she's God's greatest gift besides my salvation that he's ever given me. And I say that above my kids. And, some people are like, oh, I love my kid. She's the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
29 years old. She might have just turned 30 at the time. I always skip my year there, but we're on vacation. We booked a cruise to take my son on his birthday trip, and we're laying in bed on the cruise the first night. And she goes, "Hey, I think I feel something here. Will you feel it?" And sure enough, she had a lump in the right breast. This is Friday night on the cruise, and we don't get back till Sunday. We have no Wi-Fi. She's just, ChatGPT had just come out. We did Wi-Fi. ChatGPT just came out, so now she's like spiraling. So we get back on Monday. She goes and see her doctor, and they're like, "Hey, like we did a mammogram, but we can't get a good visual." And so, long story short, she gets diagnosed. This is December 3rd. She gets a diagnosis after a biopsy on December 19th. So we go into Christmas break, having not spoke to a doctor. All we have is lab results. And the way I found out was I'm literally working in what was a converted laundry room into an office, and she
Mm,
opens my door and she's just like sobbing
mm,
because they posted the results to her patient portal
yeah.
before the doctor could call her. So she just reads invasive ductal carcinoma in situ. And so she sees invasive and she's thinking that it's spread and like, it's just this whole ordeal.
Mm,
We get an MRI on Christmas Eve and then have to go to the Christmas party, family Christmas party, as if it's not a big deal.
dang. Yeah.
We meet the doctor probably, I don't know, January 7th. And then my wife elects for a radical double mastectomy on January 19th.
Mm,
So we get a clear margins on that, there's no cancer left. They called her cancer free, but different oncologists are different. They want most people to wait 10 years before they say that.
right.
But she goes through that. All of her stuff looks good. No radiation, no chemo. Does a plastic surgery reconstruction to the next couple months. And meanwhile, man, I had really no close friends at the time. I had one or two guy friends, but like, besides telling them like, hey man, like my wife's got breast cancer. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like that was really it,
Yeah.
And, there's some, those guys could probably use some therapy too. And so I can't remember at what point, but I at one point we're at church and, our church, Grace, has the Center for Teaching and Healing.
Yeah.
It's separate from our church ministry, but it's partially funded by the church tithing. And so I was like, I think I need to see someone.
Okay.
And she's like, well, why? Like, you seem fine. And really, I hadn't cried at all during any of this experience.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I remember like being mad at God, and like asking him like, how could you do this? Like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
Like, why are you such a jerk? Like, she's 29. Like, meanwhile, we just had our second kid. Like,
Right.
we're 9 months postpartum. And like, here I am, in the weeks leading up to this thinking, I could lose my wife.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a 29-year-old dad of two. Like, I've got a job. Like, do I get it? Like, my brain is spiraling. Like,
Right. Yeah.
how am I supposed to do this?
Mm-hmm.
How am I supposed to do this?
Wow.
So, it got to the point where I'm like, I think I need to see someone. And what really became of it is that, like, in retrospect now, I had built up this emotional reaction to like, when is the other shoe going to drop?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
like, we'd be laying in bed in the morning, I'd hear my phone's wife buzz, and like my phone's wife, my wife's phone buzz.
Yeah.
And I'd have a panic attack.
Wow.
And my brain was like, all right, it's one of your employees. She must just quit. It's like, that's very dramatic. We owned the shop at the time. Oh, it's a doctor saying there's new blood test that's really bad, or, I would just have these, I'd wake up and I'd be so anxious.
So you're almost anticipating anytime the phone went off would be bad news.
I'm waiting for my life to fall apart.
Right.
I was waiting for something to fall apart every single moment of every single day.
Right.
And the stress got so bad, man, that I broke out in this rash one day. And I'm like, Mom, what is this? She goes, I think that's shingles. I'm like, shingles, like the thing that like old people get?
Yeah.
And so I go to the Centricare, and the lady's like, dude, you shouldn't have shingles. You're like a young kid.
Yeah.
I had a mustache at the time. So like, I wasn't that young, but, and I was like, I have to do something about this. Like, this is killing me. Like, this is literally killing me. And I started meeting with my therapist, and I was kind of waiting for the whole, like, tell me about your childhood, We didn't start there.
Right.
And after, I don't know, 5 or 6 sessions, my therapist is like, are we going to like actually work through any of this stuff? So what are you talking about? Like, I've been coming to therapy for an hour for like every couple of weeks. Like, she goes, you haven't shown an ounce of emotion. You haven't like opened up about any of this stuff. She's like, what's your problem? She goes, if you're not going to talk about it, I can't help you.
Wow.
And that's when we started to unpack things.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Realized that I've got some semi-diagnosed ADHD, right? Which I think I funneled a lot of that hyper intensity hobby type stuff to like distract myself.
For sure.
But I guess the story that actually should be told there is that I had been getting really fit at the time. I lost a bunch of weight. I was like 270 pounds. I lost a bunch of weight in the first few years of my kid's life. And so I was training to run the New York City half marathon. And then Taylor got her diagnosis. And so I deferred. And so this is a year after her diagnosis, and the race organizer reaches out and they're like, hey, we saw the reason that you deferred. We have an open spot. you have to pay again, but we'll save the spot for you if you want it. So I turned to Taylor and she goes, hey, I'm better. Like, go run the race.
For
And
sure.
so, long story short, I go with one of my best friends, Justin, and my mom goes with me. And I'm running. We run over the Brooklyn Bridge from Brooklyn. And then we're going through Times Square. So there's only 2 times of the year they close Times Square: New Year's Eve and during this race.
Oh, okay.
So there's 30,000 people in Times Square like cheering. And I'm not a fast runner. And this little old lady runs by me. She's wearing a pink shirt. She's wearing a pink bandana.
Okay.
All of her friends are wearing pink shirts. They're running for breast cancer awareness.
Yeah.
And on the shirts, I wish I would have remembered the name, but it was one of their sisters' name, Memorial Run.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I sobbed like I did that day in my first ER shift. I don't know how the photographers didn't catch it, but man, I'm talking, I was ugly sobbing running through Times Square.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I had just put it all together that I'm not running an emergency run or a memorial run. My wife's okay. She's alive.
Right.
And she's got a good prognosis.
Yeah.
And I just lost it, man. And I went back and I sat down with my therapist and I told her the story and she started crying. And I was like, so did I like win therapy? I just made you cry. Like, you know, like, and I think we had 1 or 2 more sessions. She goes, Chance, I think you've got a handle on this. And she gave me some exercises, some breathing stuff and whatnot. But it really came down to like, she's like, you just needed to like let it all out.
Mm.
And I did, man. I let it all out there.
So do you feel like so when you say let it out, do you mean like you felt like you were holding it in, or do you feel you need the right thing?
I think I had compartmentalized it like I did in the ER.
Yeah.
I never learned from that time I left the ER. I kept telling myself I was better.
You can tell yourself you were better.
I kept telling myself I was better. I'm an emotionally regulated person. I'm succeeding by all metrics of the standard, world. I'm succeeding.
Yeah.
And then I got to that moment and my body did what my body didn't knew to do. It's like, oh, this is a very traumatic experience. You don't like that kind of feeling. Lock it away. And I held, I don't know, 12, 18 months of anxiety and worry up. I remember I went and got a massage. Then I went and got a couples massage. It was after her surgery. She was fully recovered. She could get a massage again. And the masseuse afterwards was like, dude, you need to see like a physical therapist. I'm like, why? He goes, I couldn't even like manipulate the muscles in your back. They were so tight. And I was like, I feel kind of fine, right? And like, no, dude, I every part of my body was tense.
I mean, that's a real like therapy modality, is like your body will hold things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you experience there.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so I just kept, I felt falling off the running, but I got into a point where I was running and I read this great book. I think it's Everything All at Once by Stephanie. I can't remember her name, but she's married to River something another. I feel so bad. He's a professional ultra marathoner.
Okay.
And he got this super rare lung cancer a couple years ago. And he was in a coma for like 9 months. And the cancer literally eviscerated his lung tissue. And he survived.
Wow.
And so he's a poet as well, but he has this thing that's like not today, death. Right.
Yeah.
And in her book, she talks about it. He was explaining that he got back. He always ran because of whatever his traumatic upbringing was to not hurt. He ran to not hurt. And so I had inadvertently started to run and exercise to not hurt. And that had become my outlet.
Yeah.
But I didn't know any of this. I wasn't emotionally mature enough to understand why I was feeling this way.
Right.
And why my previous 10 years of life had set me up into a spot where I wasn't processing emotions the way I needed to.
Right.
Dude, now I cry at the end of a good movie.
Right.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
When they cremate Yondu at the end of the... Dude,
for sure.
I sob every single time. And I know the movie.
Yeah.
Toy Story 4, where Andy donates all the toys to Bonnie.
Dude.
Or I guess that's 3.
That's
right?
3.
That's 3. Sob at the end of that one. We watched it the other day and Taylor's like, why are you crying? I was like, because this is... She goes, it's a cartoon. I was like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
The emotions is real.
Yeah. So you almost kind of went through this phase of like, I'm not going to show my emotions, to almost like engaging, like my emotions are a part of me. like I need to honor them.
They
And
are me.
they are you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So someone like, is listening to this, and something you mentioned I want to touch on too is like just emotional maturity. Like, is that something you feel like a lot of men, just people, is that something we're missing or we have it not defined right? Like,
I think people, and I don't know if this is just culture in general, but I think people almost feel like emotion is like a naughty word, right? Or
right. Yeah,
like
for
you're
sure.
weak if you're in tune with your emotions, right?
Right.
And it's like, no, when you have that client that screams at you and is off the handles all the time,
Right.
like you don't want to work with that person.
Right.
Now, the flip side, like if every time I'm talking to you, you're crying, like I might avoid you as well, right? So there's an emotional regulation piece that's there.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like I grew up in a household, where my mom was a very stoic person. And I think that that's what I probably needed as a child.
Yeah.
But then the flip side is like, there's no amount of, so I have this, how did I say it to Taylor? I was like, no matter what we do, we're going to mess up our kids. Even if we try really, really hard.
Right.
Right. Like my kids are in children's ministry at our church. They see my wife and I volunteering. They see us give, money to the homeless on the side of the street. Like all the things that I'm trying to model for them.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, right, I'm trying them to grow up with a correct view of Christ that I didn't grow up with. Right.
Right.
But on the flip side, when I lose my temper because they won't stop doing cannonballs in the bathtub, right? Or
Right.
Greco naked wrestling, before bedtime after I've already put their pajamas on, they take them back off, right? And then I'm angry with them and I'm putting them down to bed. But then in the last moment, I'm like, hey, mommy and dad loves you and God loves you too.
Yeah.
What does that tell my kids? Well, that dad says he loves me, but that's how he was just really angry right there. So God must be mad at me too. Right. So no matter what I'm doing, no matter how hard I try, I'm going to mess up my kids in some way.
Right.
But the what I'm trying to be cognizant of is they've got to see that I'm a person as well and that I've got my own faults. Now, I try to minimize that as much as I can until they're older and they can understand.
Sure.
But like my kids, I'm going to tell them these stories about me and growing up, and it's why I'm such a big journaler and note taker. Is like I want them to find this stuff and see, who dad was. Right. I'm not going to hide the person that I was and am. Right. And the person I'm trying to grow into.
Right.
I'm hoping they'll see that through my notes and my stories and everything else. Right. Like the stupid YouTube video about the rats that climbed up in their bathroom. Like my great grandkids may or may not know me. Right. They may or may not know Taylor, but they'll hear Taylor drop the F-bomb in that video and be like, oh yeah, my great grandmother was Italian. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
For sure. Yeah.
So
it's almost like the more beautiful story is like you had these faults, but yet you were still striving to be a great dad. And that's what I hear you saying is like, I want my kids to know that I love them. And
I knew I got it wrong.
Right.
I don't want them to, so you hear this story, and I've talked to people about this before, where like, someone tells them like, oh, they tell the parent, hey, I'm getting therapy. And the parent's like, oh, they're going to tell you all the bad stuff I did. Well, yeah. Right. But like, as a parent, you should also be like, I'm so glad you're doing that. So you can work through the areas where I wasn't the best parent.
Right. For sure.
We go back to the question about marriage earlier, right? Mm-hmm. Like Taylor and I every single day make mistakes in our marriage.
Sure.
But we're striving to be better partners to each other. It's why I encourage people to get married young. And I know that like that really throws a lot of people, right? Oh, live together, right? Figure out if you're a good, grow together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most important thing, because if you're actively choosing to try and be better every day, then I think that tells a more beautiful story in the end.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, to bring this all back into the Christian worldview, which is where I live my life now, I had started going to church with Taylor and her parents when we started dating. And then when we got engaged, that was kind of almost a condition that I needed to start going to their church with them.
Okay.
It wasn't really laid out that way, but just that's an easy way to explain it.
Sure.
And I ran into bad theology again. Right.
Yeah.
And
dang.
And I don't know if it's if it's training, it's just the human nature of it, right? No pastor's perfect.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And if they look perfect, then there's a lot more under the surface that's wrong.
Right.
And so it's one of the things I've been working through the last couple of years, thanks to great people like Tom Pittman,
Mhm.
Pat Clark, Mike Price, Noah from Grace,
Mhm.
all these great men who've been pouring into me, Phil Robertson,
Mhm.
even guys younger than me, Connor Atkins,
Yeah.
who are pouring into me and showing me like what true discipleship looks like.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we get it wrong, right? Here's all my faults, but like every day I'm trying to take an active step towards being a true apprentice and disciple of Christ, not
Right.
just a Christian.
Right.
And so, but the same, to bring it back to the marriage, and I'm all over the place, is that every day taking an active step towards trying to be better. And for me, that's my emotional health, right?
Right.
I've got a one area of my life that I would love to be better is my prayer life.
Sure.
And but I write down a lot of my prayers, and that's kind of weird for people.
Mm.
And I'm sure my kids will read through my prayer journal for the last couple of weeks and be
Yeah.
like, "Man, Dad was pissed at God."
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
But I'm like, hey, in this book, I literally write the prayer, and like this morning's prayer was pretty tough towards God with some stuff we got going on.
Yeah.
And then I wrote down, I think it was Psalm 73, right, where like the prayer starts off with him just like leaning in on God, and the very end going, "But I know you're God, so you
Yeah.
know." It's like that's where I'm at, man.
So I'm wondering, like, you use the phrase like you're pissed at God.
Yeah.
Like that phrase comes up a lot. Like I hear that a bunch. Like if someone is either, they're pissed at God or they have an issue with God or whatever. Like how would you say with your story, or you've heard that before, like how would somebody work through that? Or where would they start?
Did you ever have a fight with your parents growing up?
Oh yeah,
How's your relationship with them now?
that's great. Pretty good.
So I think the biggest challenge when I try and share the gospel with people now is this problem of pain. C.S. Lewis, right?
Yeah.
The problem of pain. If we serve an all-powerful and an all-loving God, then there can't be pain. And if you run that through the logic, debate version of it, you will, those don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? If I wanted Taylor to love me, which I believe she does,
Mhm.
would she love me the same way she loves me now, 12 years in, if I locked her up in my basement and gave her no other option but to love me? Right?
Right.
I could take care of all of her needs, right? Food, clothing, nutrients, all that kind of stuff. But would she truly love me? Right? Without the ability to choose to love me.
Right.
And so, when God created everything, and I take a big bang, fine-tuning, scientific approach to the creation. That's just my personal opinion. Because when people ask me, like, well, is the Earth 5,000 years old, or
That might be
2
another
billion?
podcast.
Might be another podcast. I always like to ask the question: what would make God more cosmic, like more insane, like
Sure.
unbelievable?
Yeah.
And the thing is, both of those are true. He could go like that, and everything's made, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
But what if he's such an architect that he's just swirling and moving all the cosmos to create this fine-tuned universe? So my point being, I don't remember what my point being was going to be, but my
We're talking about if someone says they're pissed at God.
no, I'm joking. My point being is that in the creation, right, everything was perfect,
right,
and then sin entered the world,
yeah,
right, which was a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So in the very beginning, God didn't put sin and pain into the world.
Right.
We introduced that ourselves because he gave us the choice.
Yeah.
And sometimes you look at your kids when they're doing something stupid, like doing cannonballs into the bathtub. And sometimes you have to let them do it.
Right.
And hurt themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I think Taylor did something that gave herself breast cancer? Right? No. Do I believe God gave her breast cancer? I don't. Right? He could have, right? He could have introduced something there for a certain purpose.
Right.
Do I think God allowed her to have breast cancer?
And
that's a yes.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes as fathers, we allow our kids to go through something because of the growth they're going to have on the other side.
Right.
And sometimes it's horrible things we go through.
Yeah.
Cancer, God forbid, loss of a child.
Right.
That's one of the worst ones.
Mm-hmm.
Addiction.
For sure.
Right. All these things. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't love you.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that it's going to get better immediately. Right. God, this theory that, you come to Christ and then suddenly your life's perfect and you're Joel Osteen with millions of dollars. Like,
right.
He tells you in this life, there's going to be troubles.
Right.
Like you're going through, go through persecution and pain and sickness. And he doesn't say, don't worry, I'm going to take care of it. He says, but I overcame the world.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And so I don't know why. I still don't know why. Now, I've had some glimpses into it. I had a meeting recently where, a long story short, I won't go into the details, but a potential client came into my life, and they shouldn't be my client. For all purposes, there were so many avenues where they could have picked someone else, someone more experienced, and they became a client of mine. And during the initial conversation, brought up that there's a breast cancer diagnosis there. And I got to pray for this person.
Wow.
First time I've ever met with him.
Yeah.
Prayed for healing, prayed for clarity, right? And it was wild because that meeting wrapped up and I turned around and Phil Robertson and Noah are sitting by me at this restaurant. I'm like, what are the odds of this?
Wow.
Right? I never felt more used by the Holy Spirit than in that moment.
For sure.
And so that's my story. I think that I went through this anxiety and this emotional dysregulation and this pain so that on the other side, I can hopefully bring some comfort to people.
Yeah, for sure.
And if that's all I get to do for people, if that's my entire life's ministry from here on out, I think it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Now, there's other things in my life that, I'm going through that I'm not ready to talk about, but, I don't know how God works those to make them good.
Yeah.
Taylor probably has some few choice words for God. I know she does about her whole situation.
Sure.
But her and I's marriage has never been better than it is today.
Yeah.
Because of this pain.
For sure. So, as we're like wrapping up, like a lot of times people, when they go through something, they're in isolation. Like how important was it for you to just have community, friends with all your stuff that you were going through?
So I think for whatever reason, the way God designed our minds, this ability to talk to ourselves, ruminate on things, meditate on things, I think it's all the same thing, right? For better or for worse, usually for worse, if you don't get that out and bounce it off someone, it can be pretty detrimental. That's how you start to spiral, right? It's how you make a mountain out of a molehill, right? The old saying. After going to Grace, they challenged, our church really challenges us to serve and volunteer, right?
For sure.
Your best friends are in this room. You just haven't met them yet.
Right.
Well, I tried to put together, I wanted to join a small group. That was one of the things I was like, I really need to find some other like-minded Christians, people with church trauma and pain, and work through this with them, right? And I got put into the young single adults group. Me, a dad, husband, entrepreneur.
Nice.
And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do it myself. And so I got Seth, Matt, and David together, the initial core group of what became Dad's Fight Club.
Yeah.
And I literally texted the guys like, hey guys, do you want to go on a man date? Let's go to Miller's Ale House.
Yeah.
Get beers and zinger melts. And we're going to call it a Dad Fight Club because you can talk about whatever you want. You can, whatever you want. And it stays here.
Yeah.
And I was expecting kind of like, dude, that's kind of like cheesy. Like, I don't want to and they all bit.
Nice.
And we had our first fight club. This was almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it has since grown from Miller's Ale House, which got expensive, to once a month we get together at my house. I usually smoke some sort of meat.
Yeah.
Everyone brings their own beverages because I don't drink. And you can talk about whatever you want. Yeah. And sometimes guys unpack some pretty profound stuff.
For sure.
We had a dad in one of the groups that, admitted that he hadn't been on a date with his wife since his child was born.
Wow.
And one of the other dudes like, dude, same here. One guy had a pretty crippling addiction to pornography. Not anymore.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're part of this. You've been to some of these. We're a bunch of ragtag group of guys, different walks of life, socioeconomic status. There's 23 guys now in the group.
Wow.
And I've got 3 or 4 different subgroups within there that I text with on a regular basis. You're in one of them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's having guys who are going through the same thing. So the qualifications for us is you got to be a young dad.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
That's it.
And you got to be cool. You have to be invited by someone.
Right.
There's a lot of Christians in the group. There's some guys who are atheists, agnostic. Some of them I don't even know.
Right.
Right. But we're respectful and we're just kind of going through this whole thing together.
Yeah.
You know,
But I think that's the key phrase that you just said there is like, we're all in this together or going through this together. It's not like someone's an expert and someone's not. It's like, we're all doing this,
well,
trying to figure it out.
I would argue though that some of us are experts in certain things.
For sure.
I think I'm very much an expert right now in what it feels like to be a caregiver who's worrying about a spouse. Thank God none of the guys have had to go through that situation, but
Mhm.
there's been loss of pregnancies in
Yeah.
our group, and there's dads who can lean in on the others guys. There's addiction,
Yeah.
lust, that kind of thing
Yeah.
that those guys have leaned in on. And then sometimes it's just work stuff, right? Like I
Right.
got laid off, in December of last year, whatever it was, November last year. And like the guys came running,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, someone listening to this, we've talked a lot about like community therapy. Someone's like on the fence about like starting therapy, looking into it. What would you say to them to get them off the fence or where they need to be?
If you're even thinking about it, you need it.
Yeah.
There's no questions,
100%.
right? And it doesn't mean that you're going to be in therapy for the rest of your life.
Right.
Right. It may be 1 or 2 sessions. It may be a session. You may just need to unpack something, right?
For sure.
You might just want to sit with someone who can't talk to anyone else under certain and just vent.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, and like you're supposed to confess your sins to brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah.
The great example, actually, Andy Lamb on his podcast talked about this. He goes, should I confess to my wife that the girl at the gym in the yoga pants in front of me was like kind of cute? Like, no, your wife probably doesn't need to know that, right? 'Cause that's not good for that relationship.
Right.
But you should tell your friend that that's the thought that you had and confess and have him hold you accountable, right? And there's things that like, I don't need to put on my wife,
Right.
Like if I had unpacked all of that stress and anxiety with Taylor during her journey, that wouldn't have been good for her.
Yeah.
She would have been even more stressed and panicked, right? Wait, you're afraid that I'm going to die? I'm afraid that I'm going to die. That would not have been good.
Right.
That's something I only could have shared with a therapist or a close male confidant or my mom or someone, right?
Right.
To get that out. So if you're even thinking about it, just talk to someone.
Yeah.
There's so many resources out there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Take that step that you need to take. So resources, books, podcasts, other things, YouTube channels you recommend.
So I've been reading a lot recently. So I've been reading a lot on prayer.
Okay.
Just how to pray.
Yeah.
Tim Keller's got a great book. Practicing the Way by John Mark Comer I read recently. There's so many good podcasts out there. One of my favorites is the Unashamed podcast with the guys from Duck Dynasty.
I've been meaning to check that one out. It sounds really good.
It just reminds me so much of my family with
Yeah.
Southern roots. They just tell stories and talk about God. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a great podcast.
For sure.
But I really think you can go through any of the Christian books. A lot of them are hooey, right? And like too grandiose and all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
Like, so I get a little, I have a thing against weird Christians.
Sure.
Which we can unpack in another podcast. But John Mark Comer is good because you can read his books in a couple sittings, really.
Yeah.
Tim Keller's got a bunch of great stuff. Podcast, Untrained Philosophical Discussionists, UPD, Andy Lamb, and Johnny from our church at Grace. Our church has a podcast, Grace After Hours, I think it is.
Yep. Grace After Hours.
There's so many great options out there. Non-Christian books. What's the? I'm gonna blank on the name now. The Comfort Crisis.
Okay.
Comfort Crisis is more like a rucking and kind of like physical book.
Yeah.
But like we're designed to carry. Like we're meant to be out in the wild, right? And this book about like embracing discomfort, really something we need to do.
For sure.
There's also some other great books. I like to read a lot of history. I'm reading about Leonardo da Vinci right now.
Nice.
And this concept, he got commissioned to paint Medusa on a wooden shield.
Wow.
And he was so obsessed with getting this so lifelike that he started collecting dead animals, bats, lizards, reptiles, and literally pinning them together to create this like dragon type sculpture thing. It became so bad that the second floor art studio, wherever he was at, smelt like a true house of horrors. but he was so passionate about his work that he couldn't discern the smell.
Right.
And so this idea of like, what am I so passionate about that I'm willing to ignore the stench?
Mm.
Right. And so right now I am so passionate about not controlling, but discovering my emotional intelligence and reaching out to people that like, I know it's weird.
Right.
And like, especially in my field, like, hey, did you like a business broker, like a sales guy, like an entrepreneur, but like you're talking about God a lot? It's like, dude, this is the only thing that's worked for me.
Right. For sure.
And so I'm ignoring the stench of the cringiness of making YouTube content and doing a podcast. Like,
yeah,
that stench, I don't care. When it works, people are gonna be like, "Oh wow, I can't believe you did that. Look at that." You know?
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned you have a podcast.
I do.
What's that one?
I've not been good about it. My personal bets. We've been making some shifts over there. Actually, hired my first independent contractor for the company.
Nice.
So it's gonna help me with some editing stuff. But I interview entrepreneurs. I ask them why they bet on themselves. Cut some interviews down the line. But
okay, sweet, man. Well, I'll put your podcast in the description.
You're
so
gonna use a link with your episode, aren't you?
Am I gonna what?
Use a link for the episode that you came on?
I could. I mean, yeah. So anyway, well, thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate you being here and being vulnerable and all the technical difficulties.
Hey,
so
that's all right. That's all right.
Cool.
It's the second time I've been in your office and the first time I've cried.